My name is Dzifa, and I have two wonderful kids. My boy is my first, he's 7 years now, and my daughter, she's 5 years. With my first, I think I just knew. We conceived him on my birthday, and I knew I wasn't safe, and I knew it was right at the beginning of ovulation. But my second absolutely took me by surprise. I didn't get to find out until I was 8 weeks gone. I was going to attend a friend's wedding. So the day before, I was lying on the bed with my back on the bed, and then I felt like a grumbling in my tummy. And then I was like, So I kept quiet, put my hand on my belly, and just listened for about 15 minutes. And I could actually hear an extra heartbeat. Mind you, my firstborn was just 11 months, so I was not ready to have a secondborn. So the next day before the wedding, I left home early and went to see a Ghanaian. I did the test, the blood test. And then the doctor was, "Oh, congratulations, you're going to have a baby." And I'm sitting on his observation table. I'm like, "Wafa, Jainya Wokano." Oh, I think the attention, you can ask for anything you want to eat. I was, at the time, we opted for me to move in with my mother-in-law, that's with my firstborn. So she was really, she really pampered me. And I enjoyed, the look of accomplishment you get from people. In our Ghanaian society, when you get married, very soon everybody's expecting you to walk around with a big belly. So yes, for me it was like my trophy. Hey, look what I've got. With the first one, it was a pretty normal pregnancy. It started off really well. My hair just was growing really well. My skin tone was really nice in the beginning. By the time I was at the end of the journey, I was so black as charcoal. My nose was huge. I couldn't recognize myself, in the mirror. But then the fact that I was going to get to hold my baby at the end of the day, it was all worth it. Along the way in my pregnancy, I needed something called a cerclage. At some point, my doctor determined that my cervix may not be able to carry the weight of my growing baby. That's my firstborn. So he advised that I get a cerclage done. Now this is where I think at some point in your pregnancy, when you've passed the stage where the baby can be determined to be out of danger. They can come out into the world and breathe and survive on their own. So when you get to a certain point, they sew your cervix shut so that you don't have premature labor. So I had to have this done. So I think after my 6th month or so, you go back and then they unpick the stitches. So technically, any time from then, you should be able to, deliver. It's a precaution. And at the time I had the cerclage removed, the doctor also felt it's wise to give me a steroid shot. He explained that would make my baby's lungs grow faster, and be stronger and prepare him better for the world that he was coming to face. So we had gone through all that, but still in our minds, I still had about 3 months to go or so, I thought. So getting to the last month, the last trimester, your visits to your doctor increases to once a week. So I think it must have been the first or second of such visits. And just as we are leaving, my sister-in-law, who had also just delivered a month before, so obviously she had more experience, she comes running out of the house and she's like, have you picked your bags? And then I throw her off. I'm like, I'm not due until, until 3 months away. And she's like, just take it. You never know. We go to the hospital and it's my turn. And my doctor is a really, cool guy. So we're chatting away whilst he's doing his normal examination. And he's taking a scan of my stomach. And then I notice his face changes. He now has a very stern, serious look. And he's looking really closely at the monitor. So that made me keep quiet. Like, obviously, when you get a reaction like that, you feel it. You feel that something may be wrong. So he digs, the monitor deeper into my belly, and he asks, Dzifa, are you not feeling this? Now I just said, no, I'm not feeling it. So he does it at a different angle, and he asks, you're not feeling any pain? And I said, no, why should I be feeling any pain? Then he does it again and said, you are sure you can't feel this? I said, oh, I just feel like, the baby is sitting on my bladder or something. So I feel really heavy, like the baby has dropped. And then I asked him, why are you asking me all these questions? And he says, because you are having contractions. I can see it on the monitor. And since we've been here, you've had at least 3. And I was like, but I feel fine. Apart from feeling like the baby has dropped, has come really low, I feel fine. So he decides, okay, let me check if you are dilated. It could be yes, maybe your contractions are now starting, but I just want to be sure. So he goes to check and he says, I think he said either 3 to 5 centimeters I had dilated already, and honestly, I wasn't feeling a thing. So for me, when a lot of people talk about they felt contractions, no, that didn't happen for me, at least with my firstborn. So at that moment, because he had now, checked, it meant that I could have the baby anytime. So they have to prepare a place for me. And just like that, it's like, I don't know whether he heard the voice of God or what. He decides, Dzifa, you lie down, let me check one more thing. Let me check the baby's heartbeat. So I lie down again, and he takes this contraption out. I remember looking at him like, are you going to put it on me? I was really skeptical, but lo and behold, he puts it on, and I could hear my baby's heartbeat. I hadn't heard it before. My doctor always checks for the rhythm and everything, but hearing it was comforting until the doctor just froze and starts packing everything away, and he's like, Dzifa, I know I've never mentioned the letters CS to you, but I have to rush you to theater right now. And I'm just sitting there like, what? And he says, yes, your baby's heartbeat is too high, and if we try to let you go through normal delivery, you may lose the baby. And of course, naturally, I've never seen the inside of a theater. The thought has never crossed our minds. I didn't have any unusual complications with my pregnancy except the circlage. So this was a real shock. And in the Ghanaian sense, you to be a mother, you have to actually have birthed your baby. So for me, I was feeling a little disappointed that I wouldn't go through that natural process. But he only asked me one question, and that is the only question I needed to hear to make my decision. He asked, do you want to keep this baby or do you want to lose this baby? That's all I needed to hear. And just like that, I was in a theater room being prepared for surgery. So I actually sat on the table in my gown and watched them as they cleaned each scalpel and everything. It was a harrowing experience, actually seeing single one at a time what they were going to use to catch you up. But that is how Labor Day 1 was for me. Now my second, it was a Sunday and we were in church. Praise and worship, kosopa. And then I needed to pee. Pregnant women, we are peeing every 5 seconds, every 5 minutes. So I needed to go and pee. And at the time, my church was in a rented premises. It was a story building. We were on the upper floor. And the washrooms were downstairs at the back of the building. So I had to go all the way around down. So here I was, finished taking care of my business, and I couldn't get up. I was stuck. I was literally stuck. I could not even pull myself up. It was so difficult. So that's when I realized, no, there's something wrong. The baby is coming. And I could feel that same heaviness I felt with my son. So at this point, I knew that I have to be cautious. Again, I sat there and I was like, okay, Dzifa, you're either going to get up and get some help, or you're going to sit here and have your baby in the toilet. So that was enough motivation for me to pull myself up. But I tell you, it was not an easy experience at all. Again, praise and worship. So no amount of screaming or calling out. Sunday school was just above. So again, kids screaming their head off. And I had a whole journey to make from the back of the church to the front of the church. So my strategy was, when I get the contraction, I'd stop and grind it out, So literally, I'd be, then it would ease a bit, and then I'd be crawling along the wall. Then it would happen again, I'll stop. So I did that, I don't know, countless times. I was drenched in sweat, but I was determined that I have to get to where people can see me. God being so good. I think some of my church members had invited some people from another branch to come over, and they didn't arrive early. So they were coming when they saw me literally crawling along the wall. And also for Mami was coming down to meet the visitors when something just told her to look down, because the staircase was, like an L shape, and I was at the bottom of the L shape. So it happened almost simultaneously. The visitors looked at me, she looked down, I looked up, and then just within seconds, everybody was like picking me up and helping me. Believe it or not, as soon as we sat in the car to go, I was fine. I was completely fine, no contractions. I felt okay. So I felt a little silly at that point that I'd, probably a false alarm. So I just, said, okay, wait, everybody wait. I'm feeling better now. I think maybe it was a little gas or something. Everybody just turned around and looked at me. We are going. So we are going, and I'm still insisting, no, the hospital is so far, and today is Thanksgiving. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So my husband says, okay, let me call the doctor. And mind you, they didn't allow him to drive because they felt he'd be too nervous. So I think my brother-in-law was the one driving. And then I called my doctor, and I'm telling him, oh, doc, yes, I was feeling this way, but now I'm fine. So I think maybe it's a false alarm. And he's like, Dzifa, today is Sunday. If you call me at 3 a.m., I will not mind you. So I said, okay, fine, let's go. We got to the hospital. I have to say, my second, I also needed a cerclage. So I had my cerclage taken out for the second as well. But this time around, unfortunately for me, the stitches in the cerclage had fused with my cervix. So now, even though I had dilated and everything, the space for the baby to pass through, it was just impossible. So that meant I needed CS number 2. With my firstborn, I had no idea about what CS was all about. And so the first thing they do is, they give you, they set a line for you to give you some fluids and other medications that they have to give you during the surgery. And then they do an epidural for you. I hope I'm using the right term, but it's to numb the pain so that they can perform the surgery. You'd feel them actually inching slowly. Then when they find it, they make sure there are no bones there. And then that is the point that they'll go in at. But obviously, one, I was worried about my baby who had a high heart rate. And this was a totally new experience for me. I had never gone through something like this. So I was nervous. So I was tense. I could actually feel myself, cringing at every inch that she was moving. So then she says, "Hey, mommy, one go on. Me the I'll be paralyzed though." So obviously, if you hear something like that, you're like, "Hey, that's definitely not something I want." So I just said a quick prayer that, God, if I use my own ability, there's no way I can relax. So just take this from me. And I just exhaled, closed my eyes, and literally just slumped down, and then had her put the medicine in my spinal cord. And then I think the whole surgery took maybe 30-45 minutes. So it's a table. They literally spread you out like the crucifix. So it's a wooden board, and I'm like this. And then I remember the other part that really sticks in my mind is, I'm going to be a bit graphic, but after they cut you up, they have to sort of make space so that they can pull the baby out. So it's say akoko. When you are dressing a chicken and you grab it and you tear it, and I actually felt like a chicken at that point, because I could feel the whole table moving as they were, trying to, make enough space to see the sack that the baby was in for my second. So I really remember all these things for the second one. And my husband, he was in the room on both occasions. Another lesson I learned, and I learned the hard way. So the injection they give you in the spinal cord, they give you instructions. Please, I'm begging you, take the instructions seriously. I was given one simple instruction. When I was taken to the recovery room, I was told, don't raise your head. Just lie down, rest. And I didn't listen. As my baby was being brought to me, I was so excited. That was for the firstborn. I lifted my head up sharply. And apparently it makes the chemical, the medicine, rush straight into your brain from your spinal cord. So you end up having like a literal migraine every day for about a month. You bend your head, it's like, it's a migraine, like the worst possible kind of migraine. You can't turn your neck, you can't bend, it's horrifying. And I couldn't hold him because I think I had drips on both hands. So they just placed him on, and I just looked at his pink face. And I was really proud because he was wearing the first outfit I had picked for him and looking very, handsome. When they took him out, he didn't cry. I think I remember that now. So I remember the room being a little silent and people running around a bit frantic, but nobody wanted to tell me what was going on. And another thing is that because I was a first-time mother, my nipples were flat. I didn't have protruding nipples. So it was really difficult to feed, And he was tiny. Mind you, I had him before time, so he was already low at a low birth weight. So all these things started rushing into my head. So this was just day one, but I had all these thoughts, rushing into my head. We knew we were most probably going to get a small baby, a preemie. But even the preemie diapers were bigger than him. So I was really worried. I was so disturbed by that fact. So even in the first few hours, whilst I rested, my husband, I had to try and express a little milk, and my husband actually fed the baby with a syringe, a surgical syringe. My husband was being so tender and gentle, and it made me worried more because I felt, should I say, a little like I hadn't even though I knew I had done something great, but at the same time, so I felt like I hadn't accomplished much because we are all expecting a bouncy baby. I don't know where that notion comes from. Nobody actually tells you that when your baby comes out, he's going to be red and wrinkled. You're expecting a bouncy baby, you know, all nice and cuddly, but it's not always like that. Sometimes they come not so perfect because sometimes they are meant to be given a little extra care. So I think that was what I also learned, you know. If you take your time and nurture whatever experience you are holding, no matter how, you know, unpleasant or not to your expectation it is, if you take your time and, you know, give it that chance to grow and blossom, it will turn out really well. Now he's 7, and I mean, I sometimes look at him and I'm amazed at, wow. I realized that I didn't have as much patience as I thought I had. In the beginning, you think, oh, you're so sweet, but when they start growing, they test your patience. You know, you want to make sure you teach them good morals and how disappointed you feel when they tell a lie. You know, did you eat the toffee? And they're like, no, mommy, but it's in their mouth. And you're like, you're lying to me. Haven't I been teaching you anything? Don't grow up a thief, you know. So the changes, just be ready. It's going to change you, who you are. It's going to change your home. You're going to have drawings. You'll be in your bathroom and you look left and somebody has drawn something that looks like, I don't know, a dog or a pig or something. They know we don't allow drawing on the wall. So you find it in the most obscure places. Let me tell you a funny story. So one of the evenings, my husband and I mean, we've kept these children entertained for as long as we can. We can't take it anymore. So we actually leave them thinking they'll fall asleep on their own. And we are in the room sleeping. I wake up maybe around 2 a.m. and I find little blue hearts stuck all over the wall, my work desk, the TV, the flat screen TV. And I'm like, oh my goodness. When I asked them in the morning, they said they were decorating the room for us. The worst part, the permanent marker, they used it to paint their nails. So you can imagine going to school and they have navy blue fingernails with me sitting in the car trying to file off all of these things. So the changes, you have to be ready. It's really rewarding when you hear compliments from other people about your kids. Oh, your child is so kind, you know. She offered me some of her biscuits, you know. So you know that the things that you are teaching your children, hopefully they'll grow up and be, you know, good people. You learn from your mistakes and hopefully you are hoping that they won't create or make the same mistake. So it's really rewarding when the things you are trying to do, you can see the evidence of it paying off.